Climbing stairs used to feel automatic, but now your legs hesitate halfway up, your knees ache, and you quietly wonder when something so simple became exhausting. What if the problem is not age itself, but muscles that have slowly stopped receiving the right signals? Today you will discover 3 targeted moves that can make stairs feel steady again, plus a powerful bonus that most people completely overlook. Many adults over 60 assume that struggling with stairs is simply an unavoidable part of getting older, but from a medical perspective, that explanation is incomplete and often misleading. What actually changes is not your age itself, but the structure and signaling capacity of your muscles, joints, and nervous system. When we examine stair difficulty through physiology rather than assumption, the pattern becomes very clear and very modifiable. The first major factor is sarcopenia, the gradual loss of skeletal muscle mass that accelerates after the age of 50 and becomes more noticeable in the following decade. Research shows that adults can lose up to 3 to 8% of muscle mass per decade after 30, with a sharper decline after 60 if strength training is absent. However, it is not just total muscle mass that declines, but specifically the fast-twitch muscle fibers responsible for power production. Stair climbing requires short bursts of force to lift body weight vertically, and without sufficient fast-twitch activation, each step feels heavier than it used to. Equally important is the weakening of the gluteus maximus and quadriceps, the 2 primary muscle groups that extend the hip and knee while climbing. These muscles act as the engine of vertical movement, and when they are underused for years due to sedentary habits, the brain reduces neural drive to them. This is not simply a strength issue, but a signaling issue between the nervous system and muscle tissue. If the signal weakens, the contraction weakens, and stairs begin to feel unstable and fatiguing. Another overlooked contributor is ankle mobility and calf efficiency. With age, tendons become stiffer and less elastic, especially the Achilles tendon, which plays a major role in pushing the body upward. Reduced ankle range of motion forces the knees and hips to compensate, increasing joint stress and decreasing mechanical efficiency. Studies in rehabilitation science show that limited ankle dorsiflexion is strongly associated with difficulty in functional movements, such as stair climbing and rising from a chair. Mitochondrial efficiency also declines over time when muscles are not challenged regularly. Mitochondria are the energy-producing structures inside your cells, and they determine how efficiently oxygen is converted into usable energy. When mitochondrial density decreases, endurance drops, and muscles fatigue faster even during everyday activities. That is why some adults notice breathlessness or early muscle burning on stairs, even when their cardiovascular system is otherwise healthy. Balance and coordination further complicate the picture. After 60, neuromuscular coordination slows because reaction time and proprioception naturally decline without stimulation. Proprioception is your body's awareness of joint position in space, and it is essential for stepping confidently without hesitation. When proprioceptive feedback weakens, the brain becomes cautious, movements become slower, and climbing stairs feels uncertain rather than automatic. What is critical to understand is that none of these changes represent irreversible damage. They represent deconditioning, altered signaling, and predictable physiological shifts that respond remarkably well to targeted stimulus. Research consistently shows that adults over 60 can rebuild muscle strength, improve tendon elasticity, and enhance mitochondrial function through progressive resistance training. Even individuals in their 70s and 80s demonstrate measurable improvements in stair speed and lower body power when the correct muscles are activated consistently. So when stairs begin to feel harder, the message is not that your body is failing. The message is that specific systems have been under-challenged for too long. Once you understand the biological reasons behind the difficulty, you can begin to reverse them with precision rather than frustration. If there is one movement that closely mirrors the strength demand of climbing stairs, it is the controlled sight to stand. This simple action directly targets the quadriceps and gluteus maximus, which are the primary drivers of vertical movement when you step upward. From a clinical perspective, the ability to rise from a chair without using your hands is strongly correlated with independence, fall risk reduction, and lower mortality in older adults. When you climb stairs, your front leg must generate enough force to lift your entire body weight against gravity. That action requires coordinated extension at the hip and knee, which is exactly what happens during a properly performed sit-to-stand. Research in geriatric rehabilitation consistently shows that repeated chair rises improve lower body power, not just endurance, which is critical because stair climbing depends more on power than on slow strength. The key is not speed, but control. Begin by sitting on a firm chair with your feet flat on the floor and positioned hip-width apart. Your knees should form roughly a right angle, and your weight should be evenly distributed through the midfoot rather than the toes. Before rising, lean your torso slightly forward from the hips, which shifts your center of gravity over your feet and activates the gluteal muscles more effectively. Press through your heels and rise slowly over a count of 3 to 4 seconds, focusing on tightening your thighs and hips as you stand. Avoid pushing off with your hands unless absolutely necessary because hand assistance reduces the load placed on the target muscles. Once fully upright, pause briefly to stabilize, then lower yourself back down just as slowly, maintaining tension rather than collapsing into the chair. This slow lowering phase is particularly important because it strengthens the muscles eccentrically, which means they are working while lengthening. Eccentric training has been shown in multiple studies to improve muscle quality and tendon resilience in adults over 60. It also enhances neuromuscular recruitment, meaning your brain becomes more efficient at activating a greater percentage of available muscle fibers. From a physiological standpoint, this movement stimulates muscle protein synthesis, which is the biological process responsible for repairing and rebuilding muscle tissue. Even in older adults, resistance exercises such as seat-to-stand trigger a measurable increase in anabolic signaling pathways. When performed consistently, 3 to 4 times per week, this stimulus can slow and even partially reverse sarcopenia. It is also important to understand progression. At first, you may perform 8 to 10 repetitions with careful form, resting briefly between sets. As strength improves, you can increase difficulty by slowing the tempo further, crossing your arms over your chest, or holding a light weight close to your body. Each adjustment increases mechanical load in a safe and controlled manner. Clinical trials have demonstrated that structured chair rise programs significantly improve stair climbing speed and confidence within 8 to 12 weeks. The improvement occurs because the exact muscles required for stairs are being retrained under controlled conditions. Instead of reacting to weakness during a real staircase, you build strength in a predictable and safe environment. When practiced consistently, the controlled sit-to-stand becomes more than an exercise. It becomes a direct intervention against lower body decline, restoring the force production that makes each stair feel lighter and more stable. Climbing stairs is not simply a matter of pushing upward with strength, because each step requires you to balance on one leg while the other leg moves forward. Many adults over 60 lose this single leg stability long before they notice obvious weakness, which is why stairs can begin to feel shaky or unpredictable. The supported step-back lunge directly restores this missing stability by training the hip muscles that control balance and alignment. When you step onto a stair, your body must stabilize over one leg before the trailing leg joins it. This moment of single leg loading activates the gluteus medius, a muscle on the side of the hip that prevents the pelvis from dropping. Research in fall prevention consistently shows that weakness in this muscle is associated with instability, slower walking speed, and higher fall risk in older adults. The supported step-back lunge strengthens these stabilizers while also building power in the larger hip and thigh muscles. Begin by standing near a sturdy surface such as a countertop or wall for balance assistance. Stand tall with your feet hip-width apart, your chest lifted, and your weight evenly distributed through both feet. Gently step one foot backward, keeping your front foot planted firmly on the floor. As you lower your body, bend the front knee slowly while allowing the back knee to move toward the floor in a controlled manner. Your front knee should remain aligned over the middle of your foot rather than collapsing inward. This alignment is critical because inward knee movement increases joint stress and reduces the activation of the hip stabilizers. Lower yourself over 3 to 4 seconds, keeping your torso upright and your core engaged to maintain spinal stability. Pause briefly at the bottom, then press firmly through the heel of the front foot to return to standing. That push through the heel recruits the gluteus maximus more effectively than pushing through the toes, which improves hip extension strength needed for stair climbing. This movement also retrains proprioception, which is your body's ability to sense joint position without looking. Aging reduces proprioceptive sensitivity in the ankles and knees, which can lead to hesitation or missteps on stairs. Controlled lunges stimulate the small stabilizing muscles and nerve receptors that refine balance and coordination. Scientific studies in older populations demonstrate that unilateral exercises such as lunges improve gait stability and reduce fall risk more effectively than bilateral exercises alone. This is because daily activities like climbing stairs, stepping over obstacles, or getting into a car are inherently single-leg tasks. Training one leg at a time exposes asymmetries and allows weaker sides to catch up safely. For individuals with sensitive knees, the depth of the lunge can be adjusted so the back knee does not descend fully toward the floor. The goal is not extreme range but controlled muscular engagement. Even a shallow step back can produce significant activation when performed with slow tempo and proper alignment. Perform 8 to 10 repetitions per leg, focusing on quality rather than speed, and rest briefly between sets. As strength improves, you may gradually reduce hand support or hold light resistance close to the chest to increase challenge. Progression should feel steady and controlled rather than rushed. When practiced consistently, supported step-back lunges restore the single-leg strength and hip stability that make stair climbing feel grounded and secure. Instead of wobbling or gripping the railing out of caution, your body regains the lateral control and confidence required for smooth upward movement. When most people think about climbing stairs, they focus on the thighs and hips, but the final push that lifts your body onto the next step comes from a much smaller muscle group below the knee. The calf muscles, particularly the gastrocnemius and soleus, generate the upward propulsion that completes each step. If these muscles weaken or lose elasticity, the effort required to climb increases significantly, even if the larger muscles remain moderately strong. The calf complex works together with the Achilles tendon, which functions like a spring that stores and releases energy during movement. In younger adults, this tendon is elastic and responsive, returning stored energy efficiently with each step. As we age, the tendon gradually becomes stiffer and less responsive if it is not regularly loaded through resistance. Research in musculoskeletal aging shows that tendon stiffness contributes directly to slower walking speed and reduced push-off strength. Calf raises with slow lowering specifically target both muscle strength and tendon adaptation. Begin by standing upright with your feet hip-width apart, using a wall or countertop lightly for balance if needed. Press evenly through the balls of your feet and lift your heels slowly over a count of 3 to 4 seconds. Focus on rising as high as comfortable without shifting your weight forward excessively. At the top of the movement, pause briefly and concentrate on maintaining balance and tension in the calves. Then lower your heels back to the ground even more slowly than you lifted them, taking 4 to 5 seconds to return to the starting position. This controlled descent is known as eccentric loading, and it has been shown in rehabilitation research to improve tendon resilience and muscle quality in older adults. Eccentric training stimulates collagen remodeling within the tendon, which enhances its capacity to handle force. This is particularly important for stair climbing because each step requires rapid force production at the ankle. When the tendon regains some elasticity and the muscles strengthen, the push-off phase of stair climbing becomes smoother and less fatiguing. The soleus muscle, which lies beneath the gastrocnemius, also plays a crucial role in circulation. This muscle acts as a secondary pump that assists venous blood return from the lower legs back toward the heart. When calf strength declines, blood can pool more easily in the lower extremities, contributing to heaviness and early fatigue during stair climbing. Strengthening this region therefore improves both propulsion and circulatory efficiency. Clinical studies involving older adults demonstrate that structured calf strengthening programs improve walking endurance and stair climbing performance within several weeks. The improvement is not only muscular, but also neurological, as repeated activation enhances motor unit recruitment. In simple terms, your brain becomes better at calling upon available muscle fibers when they are needed. To perform this movement safely, begin with 2 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions, focusing on precise control, rather than speed. As strength increases, you may progress to performing the movement on one leg at a time, while maintaining balance support. Single leg calf raises increase the load and more closely mimic the demands placed on one ankle during stair climbing. Consistency remains the determining factor in long-term improvement. When calf raises are practiced 3 to 4 times per week with deliberate tempo, measurable gains in ankle strength and tendon function occur. Over time, the final phase of each stair step feels lighter and more responsive, restoring the fluid motion that once felt automatic. Strength alone does not guarantee smooth stair climbing, because the brain must coordinate timing, balance, and muscle activation in a precise sequence. Many adults over 60 regain some strength, but still feel hesitant on stairs because neuromuscular coordination has quietly declined. The wall lean march addresses this missing link by retraining the communication between the brain, core, hips, and ankles in a pattern that closely mirrors climbing. Motor control declines with age when movements become repetitive and limited in range. The nervous system adapts to what it practices most often, and modern lifestyles reduce the variety of stepping patterns the body performs. Research in movement science shows that gait speed and coordination improve when specific stepping drills are practiced consistently, especially drills that emphasize controlled hip flexion and ankle stability. To perform the wall lean march, stand facing a wall with your hands lightly pressing against it at shoulder height. Walk your feet back slightly so your body forms a gentle diagonal line from head to heels. Your core should be engaged, your spine neutral, and your weight evenly distributed through the balls of your feet. This position activates the deep stabilizing muscles of the trunk and prepares the hips for controlled movement. From this leaned position, slowly lift one knee toward your chest while maintaining steady pressure through the opposite foot. The standing leg must stabilize your pelvis while the lifted leg performs controlled hip flexion. Hold the lifted position briefly, focusing on balance and alignment, then lower the foot back down with control before switching sides. This movement retrains the hip flexors, which are essential for lifting the leg high enough to clear each stair. At the same time, the standing leg develops stability in the ankle and hip, reinforcing single leg balance. Studies in fall prevention research demonstrate that coordinated stepping drills improve reaction time and dynamic balance in older adults more effectively than strength training alone. The leaning angle increases demand on the calf and foot muscles, which enhances ankle proprioception and reactive stability. Proprioceptors in the foot and ankle send constant feedback to the brain about pressure and joint position. When these signals are sharpened, through controlled practice, stair placement becomes more accurate and confident. Another benefit of the wall lean march is improved core integration. The abdominal and spinal stabilizers must engage to prevent the pelvis from tilting excessively during each march. Weak core control can lead to compensatory movements that increase knee stress during stair climbing. By stabilizing the trunk first, the lower body can operate with better mechanical efficiency. Begin with 10 slow marches per side, focusing on quality rather than speed. Each repetition should take several seconds, allowing you to feel the connection between foot pressure, hip activation, and upright posture. As coordination improves, the movement can become slightly more dynamic while maintaining control. Neuromuscular improvements often occur within a few weeks of consistent practice, sometimes faster than pure strength gains. That is because the nervous system adapts quickly when given specific input. Over time, this bonus movement restores the fluid rhythm of stepping, making stairs feel less like an obstacle and more like a familiar pattern your body remembers how to perform. Understanding the individual exercises is important, but the real transformation happens when they are structured into a simple and repeatable plan. The body adapts best to consistency and progressive stimulus, not random effort performed occasionally. When these 4 movements are organized correctly, they create a focused 10-minute protocol that directly targets the muscles and neural pathways required for stair climbing. Begin with a controlled set to stand for 2 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions. Move slowly and deliberately, allowing 3 to 4 seconds to rise and at least 3 seconds to lower back into the chair. This primes the quadriceps and gluteal muscles, which are responsible for generating vertical force during each step. Rest briefly between sets, but do not allow the muscles to cool down completely. Next, transition to supported step-back lunges for 8 to 10 repetitions per leg. Maintain alignment and balance support as needed, focusing on controlled descent and powerful return to standing. This phase reinforces single leg strength and hip stability, which reduces wobbling and uneven weight shifting on stairs. The combination of bilateral and unilateral work ensures both legs contribute evenly during real-world movement. After lunges, perform calf raises with slow lowering for 2 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions. Emphasize a steady rise and an even slower descent to stimulate both muscle and tendon adaptation. This portion restores ankle push-off strength and improves circulatory efficiency in the lower legs. With stronger calves and more responsive tendons, the final phase of each stair step becomes smoother and less fatiguing. Complete the session with the wall lean march for 10 controlled repetitions per side. This final exercise integrates strength into coordinated stepping patterns that closely resemble stair climbing. It trains balance, hip flexion, and ankle stability simultaneously, reinforcing the communication between brain and muscle. By ending with coordination, you teach the body how to use its newly strengthened muscles efficiently. From a physiological perspective, performing this routine 3 to 4 times per week stimulates muscle protein synthesis, which supports tissue repair and growth. Research shows that older adults remain highly responsive to resistance training, especially when exercises are performed with controlled tempo and adequate effort. Within several weeks, improvements in muscle activation and joint stability begin to translate into noticeable ease on stairs. Recovery also plays a crucial role in progress. Allow at least 1 day between sessions to give muscle fibers time to repair and strengthen. Adequate protein intake supports this rebuilding process by providing the amino acids necessary for muscle maintenance. Hydration and sleep further enhance neuromuscular recovery, ensuring each session builds upon the previous one. Most adults begin to feel subtle changes within 2 to 3 weeks, such as reduced hesitation and improved steadiness. More significant improvements in strength and stair speed often appear between 8 and 12 weeks of consistent practice. These timelines align with research on muscle adaptation in older populations, demonstrating that meaningful change remains possible at any age. The key message is that stair difficulty is not a fixed destiny, but a signal that specific systems need targeted attention. When you apply structured resistance, coordination training, and recovery support, your body responds with measurable adaptation. If climbing stairs has started to feel like a warning sign, let it instead become a turning point. With consistent practice and precise stimulus, you can restore strength, balance, and confidence step by step.